Hello everybody and welcome to a scary book review. Now right here I want to show you all and read some scary stories of the Telltale, Lilac Bush and other West Virginia ghost tales. Now I enjoy this book and Coffin and other West Virginia ghost tales because they are very interesting and some places that I want to go to check it out. It tells you like all the locations where they're at and the stories that come upon this one. Now I am going to do these book reviews in parts so I can tell you the stories of this, and you can read along if you have this book, and also you can listen to it with the lights off and candles on if you want to, or do it in the day if you're not afraid, or do so. So I'm going to start out first with my book review marathon right here, my scary book review marathon of the Telltale, Lilac Bush, and I'll read to you some good ghost stories. I'm going to do some parts of it because it'll be a long movie if I want to do it, but here goes nothing. I'm going to read you some scary stories. By the way, what scares me the most is the story of ghost children and ghost animals. Those creep me out a lot. Got the introduction right here. Ooh, here's a good one. The Legend of Boiling Springs. Alright, I'm going to tell you the story. About 20 miles east of Parkersburg on US 50, there is an old dirt road. About 14 miles on that road, there is a huge and very dilapidated old hotel. Many years ago, this hotel was one of the most popular resorts in West Virginia. It was called Boiling Springs, and it is famous for its healthful minerals and sulfur springs. People from all over the eastern parts of the United States came there. Suddenly, the resort began to lose popularity. Within a year, it was closed up and completely abandoned, and no one had stayed there ever since. No one knows for sure that this beautiful resort suddenly came deserted and unknown, but there is a story that might explain it. Once there was a man staying at the hotel by the name of Grayson. He fell in love with a very lovely lady who was also staying there. Her name was Pearson. Another man named Miller who stayed there and also fell in love with Mrs. Pearson. One day, Mr. Grayson saw Mr. Miller with Mr. Pearson, and it made him very jealous. A few days later, the two men got into a heated argument over a woman. The argument soon developed into a fight, and then the men fought so fiercely that they did not notice how close they were to the edge of the cliff which had been in front of the hotel. They both fell over the cliff and both died about an hour later. Miss Pearson, who actually left Mr. Miller, was so grieved over the death of her lover, and then she killed herself by leaping over the cliff. Soon the resort began to lose business. People began to hear weird noises at the hotel at night. Within the year, no one would go near the place because it was believed to be haunted. Wow. A haunted hotel that two people fought to their deaths, and then the girlfriend committed suicide because they loved them both. Wow, that is a scary story. No wonder why no one stayed at Boiling Springs. I wonder if it's still there and abandoned. I have to check it out. Alrighty then, another ghost story. This is called The Head and the Body, and it tells about Tom Dixon cutting off the maniac's head because he was being crazy and such. I want to read this story to you guys. In an old homestead near Mount Harmony, which is in Marion County, right next to Eastdale, I believe it's near Bunner's Ridge, 150 years ago lived a beautiful young woman named Mary Meadows. Every man for miles around wanted her for his life, but she only cared for Tom Dixon, who, like herself, was a young and handsome. The wedding day set, the big cabin was made, and the marriage took place. The young couple seemed to be ideally happy. Some of the Mary's man admirers were very disappointed over her choices of Tom Dixon. One man especially seemed broken-hearted. His name was Jack Wilson. He was an odd person who never forgot anyone that got in his way. As months passed, he got worse. He could talk to anyone, was always in the woods, and people saw less and less of him. Soon he was typed of a wild man, bearded and dirty, with clothes and rags and eyes that had looked for a maniac. While in Fairmont one day, Wilson saw the young wife and ferry to take him across the Palatine and the road for Mount Harmony. He ran all the way to Dixon's farm and then went into the woods nearby, got a scythe that had been placed on a long before. Like some wild animal, he crept up on Dixon, who was hoeing corn in the back cornfield. However, Tom's dog saw him and started to bark. Tom looked around and just in time to see the wild-looking madman coming to him with a scythe. He started to run from the house with Wilson close behind him. He had got as far as the well when he tripped, and before he could get up, Wilson was upon him. Now he had to fight for his life, and some fight it was, but he finally took the scythe and with one big swing cut off Wilson's head and rolled him into the well. Horrified at what had happened, he carried the body deep into the woods and hid it under the brush. He never said anything to the wife about the fight, and even killed a young pig and threw it in the well to keep anyone from using the water because of his queer eyes. And soon he had forgotten or was believed to had left the neighborhood. However, he had anything but gone, and soon everyone to know of him in a different way. Without any warning, Tom Dixon seemed to have agreed 20 years and moved from the far west. Never had heard from him again. The new owner of the farm was a very good man by the name of Salters, who soon moved. This was the story he told. Every night at 8:30, when the moon was full, he would hear a deep voice call out, "Where's my head?" from down above the well, and answer would come, "Down here in the well." Then the deep voice would say, "Where? I can't find the well." Then after a short pause, the voice would start all over, then would repeat it over and over all night until the full moon would disappear the next morning. This went on for years. Nobody would live in the house at any length of time, and the farm was soon reclaimed by the woods. Wow. That is probably one of the most terrified well stories I've ever heard, about someone cutting off somebody's head and throwing it in the well along with a dead pig. Wow. No wonder why this guy was a maniac. Alrighty then, stay tuned for more parts of the best of Telltale Lilac Bush, and I want to tell you more stories pretty soon.